I woke to silence. Not the kind that soothes, the kind that screams. My helmet visor was cracked, a spider web of fractures radiating from a single impact point. Sand had worked its way into the seal, grinding against my cheek with every shallow breath. My shoulder throbbed, a deep ache that suggested something torn or broken. I pushed myself upright, blinking against the twin suns climbing over the dunes. The colony was gone. Every prefab shelter, every supply crate, every ship vanished. Only scorch marks remained where the landing pads had been, dark stains against the ochre sand. I scanned the horizon, searching for movement, for anything. Nothing. They'd left during the night, without me. I checked my wrist console. The battery icon pulsed red. 4 hours, maybe less. The medallion hanging from my suit cuff caught the light, a triangular piece of bronze etched with interlocking symbols I'd never understood. A gift from my grandmother, she'd said. A family heirloom. It had always felt warm against my skin, but now it throbbed with a faint pulse, almost like a heartbeat. The main transmitter stood 300 meters away, a skeletal tower half buried in drifts. I started walking. Every step sent fire through my shoulder, but I didn't stop. If I could reach it, I could send a distress signal. Someone would come back. They had to. The sand was wrong beneath my boots. Too loose in some places, too firm in others. I'd done geological surveys on 4 different worlds, and I knew what stable terrain felt like. This wasn't it. The dunes shifted with a pattern that had nothing to do with wind. I made it 100 meters before I noticed the tracks. Not human, not equipment. Something else had moved through here recently, leaving deep gouges in the sand that the wind hadn't yet erased. The marks were strange, too regular to be random, too chaotic to be mechanical. I crouched, examining one closely. Whatever made it had claws, big ones. The transmitter was still 200 meters away. I stood, recalculated the risk, kept moving. The sand shifted beneath my boots. Not wind. Something else. I froze, scanning the dunes. The surface rippled, a wave moving counter to the breeze. Then it stopped. I counted to 10, heard nothing but my own breathing and the distant whisper of wind across stone. Took another step. The creature erupted from the sand 20 meters ahead. It was all chitin and angles, a nightmare of black carapace and serrated limbs. 6 legs, each ending in a blade-shaped claw that gleamed like obsidian. No eyes that I could see, but a head that tracked me with perfect precision, sensory organs I didn't recognize twitching in the air. It moved like an insect, but it was the size of a cargo hauler. Sand cascaded off its back as it rose to full height, mandibles clicking in a rhythm that might have been communication or hunger. I couldn't tell the difference. I ran. My boots slipped in the loose sand, each stride a gamble. The transmitter was still 100 meters away. Too far. The creature moved faster, its claws churning through the dunes like water, each step covering 3 of mine. I could hear it behind me, a sound like grinding metal and breaking stone, getting closer with every second. My lungs burned. The suit's recycler couldn't keep up with my panic breathing. Black spots danced at the edges of my vision. I pushed harder, trying to squeeze every ounce of speed from legs that were already failing. I stumbled over a piece of discarded equipment, someone's toolkit, left behind in the evacuation. My knee hit the sand hard. Pain exploded up my leg. I rolled, tried to scramble upright, but my body wouldn't cooperate. Looked back. The creature loomed above me, foreleg raised, claw glinting in the double sunlight. Its mandibles spread wide, revealing something wet and glistening inside. A sound came from deep in its body, a vibration that made my teeth ache. I closed my eyes. The impact never came. Instead, a sound low, resonant, ancient. A roar that rattled my ribs and shook sand from the dunes. I opened my eyes. The reptile stood between me and the creature, 4 meters of bronze-scaled muscle and predatory grace. Its eyes were amber, slit-pupiled, burning with an intelligence that froze me in place. Each scale caught the light like polished metal, arranged in patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Its claws were longer than my forearm, curved and sharp, digging into the sand with casual power. It moved with deliberate precision, each step measured. each motion a calculated threat. The creature with the claws hesitated. Its mandibles clicked faster now, confusion, maybe, or fear. It shifted its weight, testing, probing. The reptile didn't move, just watched, waiting. The creature struck first. It lunged, claws extended, going for the reptile's flank. But the reptile was faster. It pivoted, used its tail like a club, caught the creature mid-leap and sent it tumbling across the sand. The creature recovered quickly, circled, tried a different angle. The reptile met it head-on this time. Claws against chitin, strength against speed. The fight was brutal but brief. The reptile wasn't trying to kill, it was driving the creature away, using its superior size and power to force submission. Each blow landed with precision, calculated to injure but not destroy. After the third exchange, the creature retreated, limping, clicking in what might have been pain or rage. It sank beneath the sand and was gone. The reptile stood over the spot for a long moment, nostrils flaring, tasting the air. Then it turned to me. I couldn't move. Every instinct screamed predator, danger, run, but I had nowhere to go. The transmitter was useless, now I'd never make it before my suit battery died, and there was no guarantee the creature wouldn't return. The reptile took a step closer. I held my breath. It didn't attack. It simply looked at me, head tilted slightly, as if considering a puzzle. Its amber eyes studied my face, then my suit, then the medallion hanging from my wrist. Something shifted in its expression. Recognition? Interest? I couldn't read it. Then it turned and began walking toward a rocky outcrop to the east, a dark fissure barely visible in the stone. It paused after 10 meters, glanced back, waiting. I didn't understand, but the sun was climbing and my suit's temperature regulator was already failing. The readout showed external temperature rising past 45 degrees. In 2 hours, it would hit 60. In 4, I'd be dead from heat stroke even if the battery held. I followed. The fissure opened into a cavern, wide and cool and carved with deliberate precision. Not natural. The walls were too smooth, the angles too perfect. Someone had built this place, or something had. The temperature dropped 20 degrees as soon as I stepped inside, blessed relief washing over me. The reptile moved deeper into the cave, its claws clicking softly against stone. It settled near a wall where an ancient control panel jutted from the rock, covered in dust and time. Green lights blinked weakly beneath the grime, suggesting power, systems still running after who knew how long. I approached slowly, hands raised where the reptile could see them. It watched, but didn't move. I reached for the panel, curious about the technology, wondering if I could interface with my suit's computer. It growled low, brief, not quite a threat, more like a warning. I pulled my hand back. The reptile relaxed. I looked around the cavern, searching for clues. The walls were covered in symbols, geometric patterns, spirals, mathematical progressions. Some looked vaguely familiar, echoes of languages I'd studied in training. Others were completely alien, but one pattern repeated more than the others, carved deeper, highlighted with traces of faded pigment. 3 triangles interlocked in perfect symmetry, exactly like the medallion on my wrist. My heart started pounding. I moved along the wall, following the symbols, trying to find a context. They led deeper into the cave, toward a small alcove I hadn't noticed. Inside, a hibernation capsule. Empty. The lid hung open, interior coated in frost and decay. Cables snaked from the base into the floor, connecting to systems I couldn't see. I moved closer, wiping dust from the identification plate with my glove. The letters resolved slowly, one by one. Kira Voss. Seed Protocol 7. Deployment date, 2.14/10/22885. My name, my exact name, 140 years before I was born. The reptile lifted its head, eyes fixed on the medallion at my wrist. Recognition, it knew. It had seen this symbol before, probably every day for more than a century. I didn't understand. None of this made sense. My grandmother had given me the medallion when I was 6, said it was from her grandmother, passed down through generations. But if my name was here, in this place, dated to before my family even existed. The medallion pulsed again, warmer now, almost insistent. I looked at the control panel, then at the symbol above the capsule, then at the triangular piece of bronze hanging from my suit. The shape was identical, same proportions, same angles, even the smaller etchings matched. I pressed the medallion against the panel. The cave exploded with light. Holograms flickered into existence, overlapping layers of data and schematics rising from the floor like ghosts. I saw a world this world centuries ago, lush and green and teeming with life. Rivers carved through valleys, forests covered hills. Cities rose in careful harmony with the landscape, architecture that blended organic curves with geometric precision. Then I saw the ships arriving. Dozens of them, massive colony vessels from Earth's second wave of expansion. Humans in suits I didn't recognize, styles from decades past, constructing vast underground networks. I saw the word seed repeated in a dozen languages, always accompanied by the triangle symbol. Protocols, instructions, warnings. The hologram shifted, showing what happened next. An ecological collapse. Something in the native biosphere reacting violently to human terraforming, releasing toxins that poisoned the atmosphere and turned the soil sterile. The colonists tried to fix it, but the damage was too deep, too fast. They had to choose abandon the planet or find another way. They chose protocol, an experiment, a gamble, a last desperate hope. Selected humans placed in cryogenic suspension, scattered across the planet in hidden vaults. Each vault guarded by a bioengineered sentinel designed to protect its charge until conditions stabilized. The sentinels were created using local genetic material, adapted for survival in the harshest environments, programmed with one directive: guard the seed. The planet would heal eventually. Geological time was patient. And when it did, the seeds would wake, resume the colonization, build the world that should have been. But something went wrong. The hologram showed vault after vault failing, systems breaking down, stasis fields collapsing. Most of the seeds died in their sleep, never knowing what they'd been meant to become. Only one remained viable: Vault 7. Mine. The reptile wasn't a wild creature. It was a guardian, genetically programmed to protect me, to wait for my activation. It had been waiting for 140 years, alone in this desert, fighting predators, watching the stars, holding vigil over a promise made before it was born. The hologram shifted again, showing a choice prompt in 3 languages. Reactivate protocol? Yes, no. I read the explanation underneath. Reactivation would restart the terraforming systems, wake any remaining colonists in stasis, transform this dead desert back into the world it was meant to be. But it required a command authority, someone to take responsibility, someone to lead, someone to become the seed from which everything else would grow. Or I could refuse. Signal for rescue. Leave this place to its ghosts and sand. Walk away from a responsibility I never asked for. The reptile watched me, amber eyes unblinking. Patient. It had been patient for 140 years. It could wait a little longer. I thought about the colony that left me behind, the technicians who never learned my name, the officers who assigned me the farthest, least important tasks, the people who decided I wasn't worth the fuel to retrieve. I'd spent 3 years with them, and I couldn't name a single person I'd call a friend. I thought about the medallion, passed down through generations of my family, a family I barely knew, raised in transit stations and corporate dormitories. My grandmother died when I was 7. My parents were contract workers, different planets, different jobs. I hadn't seen them in 4 years. No roots, no place that ever felt like home. I looked at the reptile, this ancient guardian, and saw something I recognized: loyalty, purpose, a promise kept even when no one was watching. I pressed yes. Pain lanced through my palm. The panel had deployed micro-injectors, dozens of tiny needles piercing my skin in perfect synchronization. Nanobots swarmed beneath the surface, a burning tide spreading up my arm. I gasped, tried to pull away, but the system held firm. The reptile stood, alert now, a low rumble building in its chest. The cavern shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. The walls vibrated with a deep, resonant hum that I felt in my bones. The nanobots reached my chest, my spine, my brain. Information flooded in system diagnostics. infrastructure maps, ecological data. I felt the planet beneath me, a vast network of dormant machinery waking after more than a century of silence. Irrigation channels opening, power generators cycling online, atmospheric processors beginning to scrub and repair. Stasis vaults reporting status, checking seals, preparing for revival sequences. The hologram expanded, showing real-time updates. Structures emerging from the sand, domes, towers, solar arrays, the bones of a colony rising from its grave. Then I heard it. The clicking, the grinding of chitin on stone. The creature was back. It burst through the cave entrance, moving faster now, driven by the sudden surge of energy and motion. Maybe it was territorial, maybe it was hungry, maybe it just sensed weakness. The reptile roared, positioning itself between me and the threat, but I could see the blood matting its scales from the earlier fight. Dark streaks along its flank, a gash above its left eye. It was hurt, weakened. The creature didn't hesitate this time. It lunged, claws extended, going for a kill. The reptile met it head-on, but the impact drove it backward, claws scrabbling for purchase on the stone. They collided again, and I heard something crack. The reptile staggered but held its ground. I looked at the control panel, desperately scanning the symbols. The nanobots had given me some understanding, but not enough. The interface was archaic, designed for someone with training I'd never received. But there had to be something: defenses, weapons, anything. I found a symbol that looked like crossed lines. Defense? Protection? I pressed it. Nothing happened. The creature advanced, forcing the reptile back toward the capsule. The Guardian was bleeding heavily now, favoring its right side. It wouldn't last much longer. I screamed, frustration and fear boiling over, and slammed my hand against every symbol that matched the medallion's pattern. 3 triangles, interlocked, repeated across the panel in different configurations. I hit them all. The walls erupted with light. Energy turrets unfolded from hidden compartments in the ceiling, seamless panels opening to reveal weapons that had been waiting in darkness for more than a century. They glowed with a pale blue light, humming as they powered up, tracking systems locking onto the creature with mechanical precision. They fired. Not bullets, beams of concentrated force that hit like physical blows. The creature shrieked, a sound like tearing metal, and tried to retreat. The turrets followed, herding it back toward the entrance with disciplined bursts. A barrier materialized across the opening, a shimmering field of energy that sealed us inside. The creature slammed against it once, twice, then fled into the desert. Silence returned. Just my breathing and the faint hum of active systems. I collapsed, legs giving out. The nanobots had finished their work, leaving me hollow and shaking. Everything felt too bright, too loud, too much. The reptile approached slowly, limping but alive. It lowered its massive head, pressing its snout gently against the medallion, then against my forehead. The touch was warm, careful, almost tender. I understood. It hadn't saved me by accident. It hadn't found me by chance. It had been waiting. For 140 years, it had patrolled this desert, watching the vault, protecting the last seed. And when I finally arrived, however I'd arrived, whatever cosmic coincidence or deliberate plan had brought me here, it had known. The medallion was the key. I was the seed. This was always meant to be. The colony that abandoned me wasn't my mission. This was. I was never meant to be a technician on someone else's project. I was meant to be the seed, the root, the beginning of something new. And the reptile, this ancient guardian, was the promise that I would never face it alone. I sat in the cavern for a long time, the medallion warm against my chest, the reptile resting beside me. Outside, the desert was transforming. Water flowed through buried channels, pooling in newly formed reservoirs. Green shoots pushed through the sand, native plants responding to the changed conditions. The world was waking, slowly, patiently, just as the protocol had promised. And I was home. Finally, impossibly, home. 3 days later, I stood on the edge of the new colony site, watching the first stasis pods rise from underground vaults. The systems were old but functional, designed to withstand centuries. Emergency protocols had kept them viable even after the main infrastructure collapsed. Colonists began to wake people from a dozen different expeditions, all thought lost, all preserved in the protocol's final gamble. Engineers, scientists, farmers, teachers, people who'd signed up for a dream that died before they ever saw it, now getting a second chance more than a century late. The Reptile patrolled the perimeter, a bronze shadow against the growing green. I'd named him Ankar, an old word from the Vault's linguistic database, guardian, protector. He seemed to approve, or at least he responded to it. We were learning each other's language, slowly, carefully. I recorded a message for the colony that left me behind, knowing they'd pick up the transmission eventually. Maybe in a few days, maybe in a few weeks. It didn't matter anymore. You evacuated the wrong planet. I stayed, and I rebuilt what matters. If you were left behind, maybe you weren't abandoned. Maybe you were planted. Maybe you're exactly where you need to be. Look deeper. The roots go further than you think. I closed the channel, watching Ankar circle back toward me. The medallion pulsed once against my chest, then went still. Content. Complete. I was no longer the technician no one remembered. I was the seed. And this world, this strange, impossible, reborn world was mine to grow. Ours to grow. Me and Ankar and every person waking from their long sleep, ready to try again. The desert stretched behind us, still vast, still dangerous. But ahead, the green was spreading, roots digging deep, life returning, and we would be ready.